All right, we green?
Green
like a bean.
Going.
Green like a bean. All right, man. We're going to give them a 3. We'll give them a 2. We'll give them a 1 in no order because we are set. Hello and welcome back. Say Something show is in the building. Feeling good. Got
Feeling
another
great.
week of content. And we actually have a couple weeks of content.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to make sure you up to date. We got a whole lot of lively sports talk here.
Most definitely.
All sports shall be covered. Not all sports, right? And you can drop in the comments if you really feel like we are missing a sport.
Cricket.
Hey now.
Missing out right now.
If there's ever enough
No
in
dig.
the comments, we'll get to it. You know what I mean? If there's consistency, we'll get to digging. Not an issue. So we got the sports that we usually cover across the board.
The teams that we usually cover as
All
well.
All that. But before we do any of that, we've had a little bit of break in between a little hiatus, a little mini sabbatical. But we're going to go ahead and make sure we do our tradition, which it was more necessary than ever before because of these little breaks. So let's make sure we get our check-in here. Mitch, tell the people how you doing. Let them know.
Man, I'm doing good. It's been good recently. Everything's been nice. Work's been going smooth. Been hanging with the family, seeing the folks. So, keeping things pretty normal. But I'm definitely happy to be back. It's been too long since we talked last. I'm ready to give some more content out there. I'm ready to talk about our teams, ready to talk about sports because there's a lot been happening. We got the Final Four about to come up with all number 1 seeds. We got the Raiders talk. We got Niners talk. We got a lot to talk about, and I'm ready to get to it. So how about you, my man? How you doing?
Yeah, appreciate it. I'm doing good. I feel good. Had a couple big projects that recently got done. So whenever you get that kind of stuff out the way, and you have some monumental feats conquered, it feels good. So the weight is off my back a little bit. I had a little spring break last week, so I feel like that really recharged me, really gave me like a reset towards everything. And I'm ready to charge forward. But I as much as I hate missing shows, the one cool part is man, it leaves us with just a juicy lineup of stuff to talk about. Once you've missed a week or two, it's like, okay, we got some gems. So I, just like Mitch, am very excited to be back. Glad to see my man's Reek behind the camera as always in the building. When the fam is right, we all locked in and it's all Gucci. So let's get to what we got. NFL, that's where we're going to start. The big 3 letters. And we can just start with myself. Usually we start with the Raiders, but I'm going to let them clean up the section with the Raiders because there might be a little more to talk about in the Raiders section. So with the Niners, obviously, I'm going to start off talking a little bit about my main man's Purdy. There's not a lot in the Niners landscape. I think I discussed a lot of our exodus, as they call it, already, and gone forward with, what is going to be a high-pressure draft. We put a lot of pressure on these next 2 drafts, so you guys get it. We might make a couple signings here and there, but this is, in that sense, a reset. So no need to jump back in on that. What I'm going to talk about is Purdy has recently come out publicly and said everybody on the Niners was tired. And that's what's happened. We were sleepy time. We didn't get our naps in. Didn't get enough protein bars and protein shakes. Now, before I get too far on just absolutely toasting Purdy, I'm going to say I've said this point, right? I've said we were tired. I've said that, fatigue, no doubt when you play that deep into the year in, year out, there's no doubt it's going to take a toll on injuries and overall fatigue level. However, I said that because that's what we're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to talk about things, supposed to bring it up, go over it, say our opinion. We don't have a true horse in the race, okay? So when we speak on this, it can't, at least at this point, have an effect on our teams. It can't. I mean, it may down the road, and hopefully it doesn't affect their play. They just want to talk to us. But as of now, it can't. Purdy, on the other hand, you absolutely can. You can absolutely hurt your image to this team. You can absolutely hurt the way people from the outside of the organization are looking at you. And you can affect ball at large, right? So My main question and issue is, what was there for you to gain out of that? What did that accomplish for Brock Purdy? What did that accomplish for what we've seen in our free agency? What did that accomplish for the remaining stars that we have under contract? And what did that accomplish for this season we got coming up soon, where everybody's going to be like, oh, okay, cool, y'all retired? Mm-hmm. Right? So I will stand behind Purdy, and I'll talk a little bit right here about his extension as well, which is, if I'm going to stand behind it, we'll talk about the contract. But in terms of attitude and in terms of, like, I'm sure he'll come back and talk back about it because it's become a viral thing where people are going over this. Everybody's gone to ESPN, and Purdy's a smart enough kid, smart enough cat that I know you know where that would go. So I got to know what you were thinking if really the second that comes out of your mouth, you recognize how this is going to be spun. Mm-hmm. So for me, I know you haven't gotten paid yet. I know you have some off-season concerns. And I know that people are really picking out the flaws you had last year, right? So the one place that I'll say give you a little bit of grace here is, to a certain extent, I can see that it's defending your teammates. Now, I don't believe that anybody on the Niners cares that you said that. And not in a bad way, not like a mic drop moment of that. All I'm saying with it is, I don't think anybody would want that. I wouldn't want it. Mm-hmm. I'm not the kind of guy, even if that's how I feel, where that's what I want to be projected out upon my opponent, right? And so all I know is that we've never built this organization on excuses, and it's done pretty well for us. And so I hope we don't start now in terms of like why we aren't able to get the job done. Like, instead, just take it on the chin and like do what you've done this whole way, which is just prove people wrong. Right. And that's what's getting you to where you're at now. I'm proud of what you've done so far, but by all means, please just do not let these situations get into your head in terms of taking you out of character with the media. So that's all I'm going to say with that. I don't feel good about it. I don't like it.
What do you think you need to see out of Purdy moving forward in terms of play? Because are you guys continually thinking he's going to get better and better each year,
right,
in terms of skills? Mm-hmm. Or is it like we need to keep surrounding him with certain players so he can keep being the guy he is right now, and this might be a ceiling?
Right. I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I don't think we've seen his ceiling, but I also think that he's been producing at a statistically at a very high level. For me, I think it's going to come down to the feel of it, right? Because stats are one thing, and I love stats because I've watched quarterbacks have none on the Niners, and that does not feel good. Like, he's already breaking Niners quarterback records, which, other than the fact that we've had Steve Young, Montana, we've had some greats in that sense, and the game has become super aerial,
right,
still speaks to the fact that, like, it hasn't taken them long to start cracking some of these record books for our quarterback play. Mm-hmm. I think that he has to show more command of this offense this year in the sense of making players better. Like, I need to see this year that he brings some of these guys who I know are good to the next level. Mm-hmm. So I think in turn that would take his stats and everything to the next level. So I think they kind of go hand in hand. But if it were one thing that I truly would want to feel out of watching the game, is he's creating opportunities for these guys. Mm-hmm. And more times than they're doing it for him.
Yeah.
And I have no problem with guys getting open and doing their job as well, right? But like, when I say let's have the scales swing the other way, that's really what I'm talking about. Where I just need you to create more plays for them than they create for you this year. That's it. Purdy extension, I'm super open to it. I think we should, because every year it's only going to get more expensive. But I do think that he's not a max, right? And so I do think that it's very tricky. And he's not going to be low, right? So we're not sniffing 30s. Like, he's above 30s, right? We're clearly in the 40s.
Geno.
Right. Geno and we're going to talk about Geno, because Geno's – I want to go to the club with Geno.
And Pete.
But thank you. You guys were in the section together. But like, I think that, if you want to be real about what's going on, you have to look at Garoppolo. And Purdy's way better than Garoppolo. But we gave Garoppolo max money. And he isn't good enough. He wasn't. Garoppolo was not good enough to, one, get max money, but two, elevate the rest of the roster around you when you're going to max out a guy like that.
Yeah.
We can't do that with Purdy. And I'm not even talking or tainting his talent, not talking towards his talent in any way. I'm just saying, when you look at this roster and you look at other max quarterbacks, that's all I'm talking about. Are there bad deals? Yes. To me, is he better than Trevor Lawrence? I think he's a better football decision maker than Trevor Lawrence, and I think that results in better football. And so however you want to digest that, you can digest that. If we're talking about straight up football skills, I mean, Trevor Lawrence was drafted number 1 overall. There's a reason why. Off the bus.
That's literally the complete opposite of Brock Purdy. First pick versus the last pick.
And dude's off the bus looking great. I mean, you see a 6'4" sunshine coming off the bus with a golden arm like that, you think it's game on, right? But at the end of the day, we've seen it's not like the Jacksonville Jaguars aren't spending money, and we've seen he's not elevating anybody, right? And so, I think that if we find a sweet spot, the sweet spot would be 40 to 45. And I'd be super happy about that. And I think Brock should be super happy about that. I'm a little confused that Brock's team is saying there's no hold up from Brock, and the Niners are saying we want him. So I'm a little confused as to, who's getting the short end of the stick here, because somebody is. And so somebody's not as truthful as they're presenting. And I would hope it's the Niners.
Is there a reason they got Mac Jones?
Huge. I mean, and people are trolling because Trey Lance is out the league, right? Oof. And so, like, when you think about that, might go down as one of the worst trades in NFL history.
And crazy, the team was still good.
Still good. But think about where we would have been during those years, having 3 first-round picks stacked in on those teams. We'd be doing what the Eagles are doing, where it's like, every year they're hitting on them late first-round picks because all they need is one kind of player. They're not even tripping. They're just going for specialists. They got everything else handled. So, yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking. And when you bring that up, I'm happy we have a guy like Mac. I think Shanahan's really happy. I think he feels like, he's got real options this year to not lose football games. Like, if Brock ain't available, if Brock don't, I think he feels good about Mac. Now, does that mean that he's suddenly going to be our starter? Absolutely not. Mac has proven here, right, that it's not always ticking as fast as they said it was. It's just not. He's made some of the most boneheaded plays, and I don't care what you tell me about the Patriots team, line, and he has made some plays that just don't even happen in football.
Right.
We'll talk about versus the Raiders when he threw that. Anyway, so I think it should happen 40-45, nothing more. And that's where I'm going to leave the Niners talk. Put down right now in the comments if you think I'm crazy, if you think I'm out of pocket. That's cool. You can put that there too. But just let me know what number you think is fair. You know what I mean? If it's not 40-45, do you think he's a max? Or do you think he should be lower than that? Let me know. But we're going to move on. We're going to move on to the Raiders. A nice, easy, clean transition. Very similar kinds of conversation, considering both teams are obviously in the offseason. News broke today. We got somebody making a little more money on the Raiders, who already was due to make some pretty good money. That's Geno Smith getting the good old extension.
2 years, $75 million.
That's actually more than that. Okay, so okay.
Yeah.
So
he got paid, man. I mean,
who's his agent? Good Lord.
It's a cool little bargain for us. You know what I'm saying? We got a guy who's been a 2-time Pro Bowler under Pete Carroll, the guy who's coaching now the Raiders. I think it's going to be a nice pairing. I feel like it'll be like a seamless move. I feel like the offense is going to be catered to Geno. They already been doing it over the last few years in Seattle. So bring it over here. Let's get the wide receivers adjusted. We got the kind of guys that somebody like Geno, who's a very accurate quarterback, can get him the ball. Under Pete Carroll, he's had 8,000 yards, 55 touchdowns in 37 games. So he's somebody who could add a lot compared to what we've had in the past. Obviously, we've seen these last few years quarterback carousel looking like the Browns right now, man. So it's nice to get a guy who has some Pro Bowls to him, albeit it may be as a reserve, and some guys got kicked out because they didn't want to do it anymore, or
Right.
they were in the Super Bowl. But hey, he's been there, so he's a guy, he's a vet that can add to the guys that we have, the young core of fellas that we can get to move on and hopefully get an over 500 season. That's all we're looking for at this point. I mean, to
Mm-hmm.
think anything higher is a little bit of a reach, but we do have moves coming in the draft. We
Mm-hmm.
got a lot of good talent coming, and I think the Raiders are starting to move towards thinking that they're going to get Ashton Genty as a
Mm-hmm.
running back. We've been
Mm-hmm.
dead at running back the last couple of years. Another one, rotation of guys, a bunch of guys only getting about 200 yards for the entire season. So we go into the draft, 6th pick. Apparently, since we just added Geno for a couple more years, we're not going quarterback hunting.
Right.
Or we must have heard through the grapevine that both quarterbacks will be gone
Right.
by the time they get to 6, and we're not looking to trade up. I think we got a lot of good picks. We got a couple third round pick, a 4th round pick. So we got one in every round. So I think we're trying to capitalize on this draft. It should be a pretty strong draft. After that, in the 2nd round, it's looking like Xavier Watts, a safety from Notre Dame. I think that would be a huge plus for the backfield and the defense for the Raiders that's really been slacking. Morig's been kind of the only guy who's been teeter-tottering on stardom out there, and he would be well accompanied by Xavier Watts. He's somebody who was a part of a very, very good defense this past season for Notre Dame. So I would be happy to see that. Maybe going to Cam Scatterbo, maybe bring in another running back so we have a few guys who one can get out there and be a receiver and Scatterbo, and the other one, Genty, can be between the tackles. I think that would be a nice 1-2 combo. Maybe even go later in the draft. I know Jackson Dart has been climbing up the ladder of the draft, but maybe we could still swing him in the 3rd or 4th round to add to our team. And then maybe some guys, some lesser known wide receivers and some defensive guys once we get later into the draft to really round it out. So I think we're really focused on the draft right now after securing Geno for a couple more years. Doesn't look like we've been making any more moves other than that recently. So I think that's the biggest objective right now, is to focus in on the draft and make some good decisions that can really help impact this season and the years to come, because these past seasons have just been failures. You've seen the list from 2000 to 2020 of draft picks, and most of them haven't even made it past 3 or 4 seasons in the league. So, or at least with the Raiders.
Right.
So it's going to be nice to see maybe a little more stability with the GMs that we have now and the new coaching staff that we have, which have a lot more tenure in the league and a lot more insight on how to build a culture for a football team in the NFL. It's exciting. I mean, we say that damn near every year for the Raiders, but this time it seems like people got their head on straight and people are talking to Mark Davis and telling him, hey, listen up, bro. Let's look at the track record and let's not be delusional.
Right.
All right. Let's figure this out. Let's get this Vegas team that is really should be on the rise. Let's actually get them going. So I'm ready to see what they do in the draft. I hope it's going to be exciting. I hope they don't pull another Cleveland Farrell where nobody expected that at all.
Bro.
When there was plenty of picks available that would have made way more sense. So that's really all you got to do, Raiders. Make it make sense. You know what I mean? Keep it simple.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, you guys had 79.8 rushing yards per game, which was last in the league. That is terrible. That is crazy. There are individuals that average way beyond that. So as a team,
as a team, it was horrendous. I'm pretty sure, I wouldn't doubt Saquon had more rushing yards than our whole team.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
definitely,
100%. I mean, you guys had one 100-yard game last year, and it was Amir Abdullah. He's not even on the team anymore. Yeah, yikes. So yeah, and then the other interesting thing is you guys did sign Raheem Mostert, which although he's a little old, I do think that he's a guy
He's
where
a
it's
good,
like to
solid
go
guy.
with the other guys.
Mhm.
Like he is, as long as you can keep him healthy.
That's true. That's true.
That's a burster.
He can get you 60-yard touchdown real quick.
He can
He
go.
was going crazy with the Dolphins too.
And he doesn't really need a line. Like he's one of those guys that's super interesting because of the packages that they usually run for him. That he like usually outruns the line, and he runs very straight.
Yeah,
like he's not like a so.
No, he's solid. I mean, regardless if he doesn't get injured, if he's on the field, he's always been good.
Yeah,
but that's just been his only ailment is
100%.
Always injured. So if you can stay healthy for a full season, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 1,000 yards for Mostert.
Right.
Depending on
especially with Chip Kelly at the offensive coordinator position, they're gonna get a lot of running plays.
Right.
Because in general, I think the plan was to uptick you guys from like at least 30% of the plays. I think they were trying to get that much more in.
Yeah,
because they were just like
see how
the
Josh
Raiders don't
Jacobs
even.
was used.
Yeah, and they were just like the Raiders don't even get many plays off a game. You know, and it's like, yeah, that's true. So that's really where it's at in terms of Raiders update, and I think that at the end of the day, I didn't know Geno wasn't on contract for that much longer. I thought he already had a 3, so that's actually that's actually totally fine.
Nice
You know what I mean?
Years.
Nice little 2-piece. So that puts him until 2027.
Yeah.
So I think that's a suitable time period for him to make an impact and be what he's supposed to be, which is a bridge. And I wouldn't be shocked if if a quarterback does end up being there, if they if they pull in Atlanta.
It wouldn't be the first time the Raiders surprise us with a draft pick.
Right, absolutely.
This is how it is.
So we will be obviously touching on the NFL a ton as we get close to this draft, which is this month. So that's going to be
late April 8th, like 23rd, I think,
right,
something like that.
Right. So we'll have full coverage leading up to that. We'll probably do a little special on it at 24th. So we'll probably do a special on it the week of or the week prior where we go over
mock draft.
Exactly. Mock it up. Go over the hot prospects.
Piper, you're not the only one.
Hot prospects and dropping prospects. Always good to take, a quick glimpse at where people were initially and how things have moved during the draft process. Because firm reminder, what you see on paper when the season ends is never what's actually happening by the time draft happens. So we'll talk about the NBA now that we've left the NFL there until further notice. We have right now a pretty good matchup going on. If you guys are following the NBA, our good old Warriors taking on the LA Lakers, and we are currently up 60-47 at half. Love saying that. Got a long way to go. If you know the Warriors, 13 points is pretty much won.
Yeah. Especially with Luka and Bron.
We're pretty much tied, but nonetheless, you feel good to be there. Jimmy Butler makes us a different team. Boy, we do look. I mean, I really do think that Draymond wouldn't open his mouth the way he did. How he spoke on some of this stuff in terms of the way the team feels, without it being true. And now you're really seeing that where like this team just believes they can compete with anybody. I mean, there's not a game where they come in and go, "Oh, we're down and out if we're at full strength."
Right.
And that is refreshing to see.
With one person over 6'10".
100%. Somehow, some way.
But do it.
Jimmy Butler, like we called a little bit, is almost an XL Gary Payton.
Yeah.
And the way we've used Gary Payton, boy, he feels 6'8" at times. And I do feel the same way with Jimmy, where there's times where you're watching Jimmy and Dre guard people.
Draymond also just throws it down to him at the post.
Calvin Johnson need it, But sometimes I marvel at the strength of Jimmy and Dre. Like you watch those two defend, and it's just like, I'm not giving an excuse for not having a 7-footer, but it's the only time you watch and go, all right, Kerr, I've been ready to guillotine you. But like, maybe you're right in the aspect that having a Draymond Green, and then of course you add in a Jimmy, but having a Draymond Green initially may be the only player that allows you to even think like that.
Yeah. That
even allows you to go, I mean, maybe, right? Because, like, you watch him guard some of them 7-footers, they're going nowhere. Fast.
Big body.
They're backing down.
Big back.
Boy, they are running in place. Here we go. And he's just sitting there, Charles Barkley. Just, the round mound of rebound. So it's something to watch, especially when you see the system working right.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, finally that makes a little more sense.
Thank you.
Exactly. So, obviously we highlighted a little bit about Jimmy Butler. The Warriors are currently in the 5th spot.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. If you knew where we were before, I mean, we were fighting. We were fighting for the 10-piece.
Big 10-piece.
We were clawing tooth and nail for that joint, and it looked like we weren't going to get it.
We were going.
Yeah, it looked like
we were looking like the Phoenix Suns.
Boy, 10 looked out of reach. It was like, nah, all right, well, we're going to settle for lottery picks here.
Mm-hmm.
So, we are now at a point where we're staring down the barrel of 4 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, 6, 7, 8 is on our tail as well. So it's not like we're not
a race.
We're not out the forest by any means. Steph is playing at an MVP level, so we do have to, usher that in there before we kind of talk about our ceiling. But what do you think our ceiling is in terms of seeding in the West, finishing this out?
Well, if Brandon Pajimski keeps putting up 22 points and 6 rebounds and a half,
cooking.
I mean, we're going to be doing pretty solid.
Cooking.
Steph Curry with just 12 right now, so it looks like Paz is putting on the backpack, carrying a little bit. So, I mean, if those guys can perform all the time, we're definitely a contender. It's just going to be tough playing defense against Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, Jalen Williams, and those boys. I don't know if there's enough depth on our team in terms of height. But the way, like you said, the way we've been playing and Steph playing at an MVP level, we definitely have a chance to at least move up to the 3 spot. I mean, right now we're playing the Lakers and we're winning. And that we're 2.5 games, 3 games behind the Lakers in the 3 spot. So it's really not out of our reach. Like,
and
I think if we win out in these last 7 games and these teams lose 2 or 3, we can instantly be right up there at 3.
Well, we play Lakers Nuggets. We play Lakers tonight, Nuggets tomorrow. If we beat both of these teams, we're definitely hopping the Nugs, I think. No, maybe not, because somehow they have so many more wins. They've played more games somehow.
They've played more games so far, but we can definitely get the 3 seed. We're 2.5 games, or we're 2 games behind both Denver and the Lakers, and we play them both.
Yes.
If we win out from there, and they lose 2 games?
Right. And don't let the Houston Rockets be young for this last couple weeks of the season. Let them go on a cold week.
What is it? They got 5 more games, I think.
Yep. Let them have a cold little end to this, because they're dealing with a lot of injuries. They're dealing with a lot of trying to keep people right going in. Got Brooks suspended with his 16th tech, doing the same old.
Nuggets are 4-6 over their last 10 games, so they've been kind of skidding. Right?
And Jokic didn't even play tonight, so they got or not even tonight, whatever that last game they played. And but he'll be ready for us tomorrow, no doubt. I mean, they were prepping that for that, but that is literally a showdown for that spot, pretty much.
Exactly.
And when we beat Memphis last night, we got the tiebreaker from
them. Boys.
We got the tiebreaker from them. So you don't know how big these tiebreakers become, because we're going to be in such a tight race. These tiebreakers, the Lakers have it against us. They already if we don't win this one, they swept us.
Right.
So we're cooked with that. But a lot of these other teams, we have a shot at getting that tiebreaker or holding it. And so if we get that, then if we finish the same as you guys, give us that one up.
Very nice.
Give us that one up. And we are normally, at least the last couple seasons, have been a team with none of the tiebreakers. So we've had to win out with no shot. So it's nice to see this year that we actually have a shot at having the tiebreakers against good teams.
Yeah.
These are legit teams. Let's do a quick NBA standings and playoff outlook. We just did it a little bit, but let's just read.
OKC, bro.
Yeah.
OKC is crazy with it right now.
Cooking, dude.
I mean, Shai Glizzy, 20 points, 60-plus games this season?
Unstoppable.
I don't know what we're going to do. They got a lot of depth for defense as well. And when Shai Glizzy can put up 30 a game, toss it to Chet anytime he doesn't need it. Chet can put up 25 and 12.
Twin 7-footers,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Hardenstein's going to be bullying Kevin Looney and Draymond the whole time. It's going to be a tough matchup, and we got to face them. I mean, we're probably going to have to face them. They're the number 1 seed out there. So, it's a gauntlet. I don't know about, it's interesting where the Houston Rockets being in second place. in the West.
Dude, I would love to play Houston.
Yeah, it seems kind of fluky. I mean, maybe I just don't watch them enough, but they are got a bunch of young guys who seem to talk a lot, but when it came to any time to step up for it, they haven't shown up.
They're good against athletic teams. Like they really struggle against shooting teams because they're not a good shooting team. But they're good defensively, and when a team's trying to run up and down, they're pretty much, I think, the best up and down team in the league. We're like
Sengun. I wish we had drafted him.
Boy,
jeez,
he bopped on somebody the other night. Something crazy too. I was like, wow.
He was there back in the day when I was saying we should have got Sengun.
For sure. Man. For sure. So yeah, I mean, and then the East real fast. You wanna?
I mean, it's really the Cavs taking it all the way. They seem to be the team that's most well-rounded. I think everybody thought we were going to see this last year, but it was kind of their first year of everybody gelling together, and now we're kind of seeing everything come to fruition. They're 61-15. Celtics, I mean, they're the same team they've been the last 4 or 5 seasons. It's not really much different. We know what we're going to get out of them. It's going to be a tough out, but I think teams can get one up on them. After that, it's not much going on. You got the Knicks,
who are kind of there by default.
They have a good starting 5, and that's about it. And if they play 45 minutes a game, they have a potential to maybe win one.
They're also 0-8 against teams above 500.
Right.
So it's like
Jalen Brunson been in and out the whole season. He's the key. He's the glue to everything. So without him being fully there, I don't know how much of a contender they are in the East. Pacers are a team. Flip a coin what you're going to get each game from any of their guys. I mean, there's no consistency there. They haven't really shown that they're a team that has an understanding of what it takes to get to the next level. Bucks been fluctuation all season.
Lots of injuries. They traded Chris Middleton out of nowhere. Right. So they just like kind of in a weird for Kyle Kuzma too, which was like the weirdest combo. I was like, out of everybody, you go get Kyle Kuzma and you think that's what's going to put this? That felt like a true Hail Mary.
Right.
And then, obviously, like you said, there's Detroit.
I mean, come on. Pistons, Magic, they're still a few years away. They got guys doing well. Paolo absolutely killing it. Kay Cunningham.
Just injured this year, man. Him and Franz couldn't stay on the court together for some reason. It was like once Paolo comes back, Franz leaving.
Right.
Like, what the?
So they got a few options for the offseason to think about in terms of, do we get some more veteran guys to complement these young stars?
Can they get a point guard? Can they get a point guard? Like
right now, both these teams are just super young, and so their superstar players are kind of carrying it, but they don't have enough around them to make a significant difference in terms of seeding or playoffs.
And what in the world would it ever take for Atlanta to win?
I mean that's literally just we win whenever Trey goes crazy.
It's just like,
and it happens 36 out of 82 times. Yeah. So that's what you get from the Hawks.
Oh.
They're another team that literally over the last 5 or 6 seasons have not made any changes. They haven't really done anything. They've made trades, but none of them have made a difference.
Right.
They've always been this 500
team. That didn't do nothing.
Over the years, there have been many trades, many moves by the Hawks, but the barometer has stayed the same.
Yeah.
We had 5 more wins this season, or we had 3 less. They're never really
except for that
threat.
1 year where that 1 year they went crazy. And we were
in
all
New York,
and we were all like, oh, is this what this team's going to be?
Right.
And on paper, there's been times where they look good. It's it's not like that's a team of nobodies. Every time they have guys you want to watch, but man, you end up at the end of the year and you're like, are you kidding? You're down here with the Miami Heat who have no Jimmy Butler. You're down here with the Chicago Bulls who traded everybody. You're down here with Toronto who don't even know who's on their team right now, besides Scottie Barnes.
Done.
They just be cooking it, So that's the playoff, update.
The Western Conference all the way until the 13th seed, people are in contention. Boy, after the 10th team, everybody's eliminated in the East. So East is really slacking. That's why I feel like it's just a 2-headed race with Cleveland and the Celtics. None of the other teams really are a threat this season, it feels like.
Yeah. I think, Milwaukee is the only team where you could see, you know,
Well, what about blood clot?
A hero run. Yeah, well, I mean, according to Doc Rivers, he'll be back soon.
Dang Lillard, man.
Yeah.
Stay healthy.
Please, brother. But if he is healthy, I do think that's a team that could, randomly knock one of these guys out and have a little hot run in them and still not be good. Like, it's not like their team is good. You get what I'm saying? But, like, they have that star power where in the playoffs, you could just catch a bad storm.
What did we just see? Giannis? What did he just put up?
Exactly.
37, 17, and 20.
First player in the NBA, 35, 17, 20. That's just what are we talking here? What are we doing here? What is this? That is
right after LeBron was like, he put up 250 points back in the 70s.
Right. And I saw some people do that, like sim it in 2K, and it was like, oh boy, it might not be wrong. But yeah, you're totally right. I think a majority of the teams in the West, even as we get beyond the true contenders, I think you put them in the East, top five. Top five. The other team I do like, though, I do like Detroit. Like, I just think that they're just not quite at a point where they've gotten that true taste of winning, so it's become a habit. But, like, man, this turnaround.
Super young.
You look at that turnaround, man, 42 and 34 after being a team that we're known for winning like 10. I mean, they should eat. They could easily, if we had predicted it, would be floundering around with Washington down there with 17 wins. So, they props to Cade Cunningham, props to some of those youngsters. But Cade, man, really.
Cade is showing why he was always been a top prospect.
Yeah, he said, Jalen Green, you can quit the cap now. Yeah. You know what I mean? There was no debate. You
just run up and down the court, eyeball.
Right. And just jump randomly. But that's we don't need that.
Here nor there.
Right. We don't need that. You know what I mean? Lastly, before we jump out, we did already honor Giannis. I mean, weird stat, right? So we don't even know, because I feel like Jokic might have did it.
Numbers, bro.
But like, if it's 35, 17, and 20 as the specific number first time ever done, then whatever. Because Jokic might have had 36, 18, and 21, right? So I don't want to hear it. But it's a great stat line. I mean, anytime you can get 35, 17, and 20 assists to me is crazy from a guy who's 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot, 7'1", whatever the heck Giannis is. Getting 20 assists is out of this world. Only Jokic should be doing something.
Hey, shout out to the teammates. They got to make those shots too.
True.
Shout out to the teammates.
And those have got to be open shots. With no Dame, I mean, they're probably triple teaming Giannis. He's just sitting there.
And he's still putting up 35.
Right. Right. So we have Carmelo Anthony as the last piece of news. Congrats, golf clap, my boy, Hall of Fame. Get that jacket. Well deserved. One of my favorite players growing up. You wouldn't call him a winner, you know what I mean, after he left college, but he did Olympic just
gold,
about everything.
Olympic else. Gold.
Straight up Olympic legend. Don't get that twisted. But when we talk about league talk, he's giving Barkley vibes a little bit. You know what I mean? Real good. Not a lot to show for it. But baller, dude. And so shouts out to you. I'm glad you got a true accolade that represents the baller that you were.
Marquee athlete in the NBA Hall of Fame this season. He's the marquee guy, among other names.
And, it's definitely one of those, like, college legends as well with what he did in that 1 year at Syracuse. And don't let me put too much smut on your name. Carmelo, you did walk away with that championship that year. So, has been winning in your career. We're just
passing the torch to his son. Now going to Syracuse, too.
Right.
Shouts out to the whole family.
Right. So, we'll be back on the NBA. Everything's just about as hot and steamy as it can be in terms of how this is going to finish. So, we'll keep you fully temperature checked,
Yes, sir.
Next, we have NCAA. We're going to talk a little bit about Elite Eight. Why don't you talk a little bit about what happened, and I'll talk about a little bit about the preview of the Final Four.
I mean, really, it came down to all the big seeds winning their games. I mean, it's showing their dominance. It seems like they got a lot of players, a lot of good transfers this season to be overpowered. But like we're saying, Duke ended up winning their whole entire side. Cooper Flagg showing why he's the top prospect for the NBA draft this coming up season.
Yep.
Houston has been a tough team this whole entire season. Got away from Gonzaga, barely scraped through that one. And then Purdue gave them a tough run too as well. Right. And then they just dominated Tennessee to get to the Final Four. They've been balling. On the other side, you got Auburn, Bruce Pearl, got those boys playing well. Super defense at all times. 70-64 against Michigan State. Beat them out another good team in this tournament this
Get them
year.
going. Get them going.
And then lastly, we got Florida, a team that basically has been the top seed this whole entire time and is taking care of business throughout the tournament. Had a close one against UConn, 77-75, but then started against Maryland, dominated them. Then came to Texas Tech, was a back and forth game, but at the end of the day, too much for the Gators.
Yeah, too much. Walter Clayton.
Young Walter White.
Big beast.
You know who he is.
Man.
But yeah, those are our 4 teams that have made it from their respective sides. We got Auburn, Florida, going to be playing. Then we got Duke and Houston, and you can lead us into those games.
Perfect. And I actually went to the Florida-Texas Tech game.
Yeah.
And I failed by not getting a Say Something clips in there. I actually failed that. Genuinely. Like, the second I left there, I was like,
meow.
Cat. But it was like a lot going on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, Texas folks get down for their sports, and Florida folks get down. So the mesh, the little
that southern
boy, that gumbo pot of that sports fanism.
Yeah, they're going all out, man. Their teams are number one
level. Yo, I saw so much. I was like, yo, okay, guys, you got it. I'm here as a neutral. Like, I was in there with Warriors gear on. It was at Chase. But phenomenal game, like you said, and you know those. The 3-headed monster, those guards, dude, they're just a lot. And I think if Mitch said anything that really highlights, I think the theme of this tournament, it's that, like, OGs are balling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the upperclassmen are here and have dominated this tournament, you know, minus Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, you're always going to have that one special guy. But I think the normalcy that we've come to expect is that we're going to see, you know, 3-4 diaper dandies going crazy, leading their team. It might even be a matchup of some diaper dandies at the end. And no.
And to go with Cooper Flag, he does have his point guard, who's a seasoned vet, has some guys who can shoot that come off the bench really well. And then, you got Malak and Knuppel.
Two other freshmen.
Him, as freshmen. So, I mean, it's a well-rounded team. But
that was also like the best recruiting class, too.
Right.
So it's like.
And there also are, though, to your point, still some solid vets on their team that are really
100%.
helping as well as Cooper Flag doing 100%. His thing.
Bunch of gel guys on that team. To give a little preview, we got April 5th coming right up. So coming in hot, we got Auburn versus Florida as the first game.
That's
309.
Nice.
Heck of a matchup. I think
games, man.
I think at this point, you know, this is what you dream of when you're making your bracket. Mm-hmm. And most times you're just, like we said, we're just used to there's no way one's making this far. There's no way a bunch of high seeds.
It's been like what, 20 years since this has been all seeds?
For sure. And we're talking about even having an option. I mean, there's a lot of times where ones are gone after round 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we're dealing with, you know, the possibility.
Virginia out round 1.
Yep, exactly. So Auburn, Florida, these guys have played each other. This is a matchup that is SEC. They have gone back and forth. Both teams have beat each other. Florida, to me, probably looked most impressive in their victory over Auburn due to the fact that everybody thought Auburn was unbeatable when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, everybody just thought, you know, Auburn had ran through a lot of high-end talent to start the year, playing out of conference. Well-deserved in terms of the hype. Florida came in and shot them out the gym and really didn't allow it to be that close.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, they had another go-round where Auburn, just like every other team that's at the top of the SEC, you got to come back and beat the guy that beat you.
Right.
And so they, too, were able to do that. And when you look at it, you got 2 guys, in my opinion, who are Player of the Year candidates.
Mm-hmm.
You have Walter Clayton Jr., who's averaging 18 points, 44% from the field. And, you know, he's also shooting over 40% from the 3.
Mm-hmm.
Also 87% from the line. So this is a guy who's a pure shooter. Florida also has a lot of length. Like, they are a very tall team.
Yeah.
They are a team that can run up and down, spaces the floor well, but surprised a lot of teams with how many tall guys they have that are mobile.
Right.
Where it's like, these aren't just tall, standstill Zach Edey's. These are guys who, no disrespect, are, you know, because Zach Edey does his own thing. You know, these aren't dudes that are going to clog the paint either in the same way. But these are dudes that are spacing out, and they're also
making the threes,
and they're going to drop down and put some pressure on you driving the lane. These are guys that are decent shot blockers for the fact that they're kind of Chet-ish.
Right.
They're kind of like the Chet kind of build.
Condon's a beast.
Yeah, Condon's a beast, and then they got Bao, the dude B-A-U. Both of those dudes are twins, like in terms of like how they play. Both just big physical guys, but aren't gonna be like out physicaling you, right?
They're Coopers. They're solid, real solid Hoopers.
Straight up. And then you have Geno Smith on the other side, who is probably the leading candidate for Player of the Year. I mean, I think it's him and Cooper Kupp at this point. If we're really, Cooper Flag. If we're really talking about it, I mean, this dude has averaged 18, basically 19, 11, right? And he's shooting 52% from the field. Obviously his free throw for a big man isn't that great, but just his impact on the game. I mean, he's one of the top offensive rebounders in the league. I mean, not in the SEC, but in the country, where he has, I think it's like 3.7 a game, that's a lot on the offensive boards. So he's shifted tons of games. I mean, there's been tons of games with close teams who are good, where it's just been him who's gotten them over the top. You also got to look for Pettiford in this matchup. He's a young Tejan Pettiford. He's pretty dope for a freshman. And they have, let me just look this up so I'm not going to blank on it. They have Mazzara Somethin. It's a hyphenated name. Dude is very, very talented as well. Chad Baker, Mazzara, he's really good. Janai Broom. Dylan Cardwell's a huge body, not great offensively, but he'll give you those Kevon Looney vibes. Denver Jones shoots 90% from the free throw.
Getting wet that last game.
Boy got jumpy. He'll put it in there. Same thing with Miles Kelly. Both of those two both shoot over 90% from the free throw line, so don't touch them late. And both of those can get you a good 3 threes and make them look nice. Tahad Pettiford is their little grimy guard who gets in, does a lot of the dirty work. And those are the main guys you're going to look for on that team. And then let me just make sure I do the same for Florida so they don't feel disrespected. Like we said, we've already highlighted Walter Clayton. Ruben Chinyalu is one of these bigs who kind of gives me what's the guy from Atlanta? Not Capella, but the Onyeku, whatever his name.
Okay, yeah.
Gives me him vibes. Rim runner, pretty fast, athletic, not quite all there coordination-wise, but he gets those hustle stats. Condon is the guy who Mitch is talking about, 6'11", real jumper, really spreads the floor, modern-day baller. Thomas Haas, same thing, just a little shorter, but a little more body on him in terms of just how that weight distribution is. Elijah Martin is one of the 3-headed beasts along with Will Richard. So those guys might be sharp.
They got some depth.
Those dudes are nasty. And then also, if they do end up winning, they do have the 7'9" guy, Oliver Ropes, on the team.
Frenchie.
And he'll cut the net down without getting on a ladder. So if you want to see something crazy, that's to be looked out for as well if Florida go ahead and grab that and cut the nets down. The next matchup on that same exact day, which will be jam-packed, and don't worry, if the games go extra, they push the time back. So if you're hearing 5:49, you're going, is that going to be overlapping? Don't even trip. We have Houston versus Duke. This is a clash of styles here. So we're talking best defense in the country versus, in my opinion, the best offense. Cooper Flag has been an absolute bully. Truly looks like I need to go to the NBA. Get me up out of here. Con Knippel's playing good at the right times. Truly providing what the team needs, 15-plus points in all of these games so far, shooting well, and really spacing that floor for Cooper. You can't ever fall too deep on him because Con's one of those guys that'll make you pay. Down. And then Malak has been, one of these. I can tell he reminds me a lot of Mark Williams, where I can tell he's going to be better in the NBA. They're not going to use him how they could, and then they don't have time to teach him. But for what he's able to do, he's a super disruptive defensively, right, and is great with the pick and rolls. And then you got Tyrese Proctor, who you've talked about, who is, by no means an OG, but, compared to the diaper dandies that are always coming through the door with Duke. He, too, was once one of those 5 stars who just has ended up staying, but really, really adds a calmness to the team, runs the show, and during the tournament has been scoring a lot. It's been crazy to watch him shooting that rock. They got Sion. Let me just pull this up and do the same for them. I think his name is Sion. I don't want to kill it. Sion James. Sion James. Lou Dort reincarnated out there, a little taller, super defensive. And then you got Isaiah Evans, who's another freshman who comes on and really gives these sparks. Yep, shooter. And then lastly, I'd say Malik Brown is a guy you look at who I would say is their best overall defender.
Yeah.
He's just a guy that comes on, guards anybody. And you know, I don't know who to compare him to, like almost like one of those Daniels brothers where it's like 6'9", but he'll just guard wherever and is super athletic. Anybody else I'm missing on that list? No, I think that's about it who you need to see from them. And then Houston, always a super gritty team. This is a team that normally isn't here because they just can't get over that hump. But they play their style of ball. They never change. They recruit towards it. They're kind of like West Virginia. If you remember the old Press Virginia, this is kind of the new iteration of that, where they just get guys who want to play this style of ball. That's all they're going to do. LJ Cryer is probably the one guy you look at on that team who he can get you 25 because they don't really ask for that a lot. But he's a bucket. He's a walking bucket. He's a little small, and he does have games where he disappears. But because of that defense, often they're not tripping. Next, you got to definitely take a long look at my boy Juwan Roberts. Some of y'all may have seen him before. He's been on some of these teams before that have been really good defensively. He's their big guy, kind of their mainstay. He's been in and out of the team this year with injuries,
right?
But fully healthy now, and he's just a big help defensively with what they try to do, with that system. Next, you have Emmanuel Sharp, who to me is like Rodman to LJ Cryer's Batman.
Right.
There's been times where Emmanuel Sharp was the best scorer on the team, but he also this year has spent a lot of time injured. So I don't know if we ever got to truly see him in flow. But it looks like he's finally as well, due to the fact that they're in the Final Four, picking up steam at the right time. And then lastly, I would highlight Milos Uzan, who is this guy they targeted, like I'm talking about, in terms of how they just isolate a guy and go for him. They saw him in the transfer market. They wanted him as the direct replacement for Jamal Sheed, who went on to the NBA. He's now on the Toronto Raptors. And he's come through. He's been everything that coach wanted. Their coach is very famous. What's his name again? Sampson, right?
Sampson.
God, I can't remember his first name, but he's been around. He's the old Oklahoma coach. So anyway, he really handpicked the guy, and he's done a lot of vocalizing how much Milos Uzan has meant to this. Kelvin, thank you. And so that's your preview there. If I'm going to give you who I'm going with, it's really hard. I think Duke's going to get by Houston. I think that at the end of the day, for me, it just comes down to Cooper Flag. I just don't think there's a matchup that's good for him left in this tournament. And so, especially when you look at Houston, they're so good perimeter-wise. Their one weakness is interior-based. And so I just think when you look at somebody that's that awesome of a basketball player, he's going to figure it out, because these big moments, it seems like he just plays better. He's just like, I want that. So I'm going to call Duke getting by him. I think that the freshmen hold it down, and I just think it's too much to ask for LJ Cryer to try to compete with that offense, because I don't think they're going to be stopping them as much as they think. It's not going to be one of these 48-53 games like Houston has been doing to a lot of these teams. I can promise you that. And I think
they've been running it up. Duke been running it up.
Duke will put up 70 on this team. And so it's going to be about, can they figure out how to get somewhere in that mid-60s range to even keep it real. And otherwise, we might see a blowout in that game. And I don't want to get any of you guys off the bandwagon of Houston, but stylistically. And then I think Florida and Auburn is the matchup. I think that this is the matchup that if you're going to watch one game, you watch this one. These teams do not mess with it. I can't imagine what the atmosphere would be like after just going to a Florida game.
Yeah.
I can't fathom two SEC. I couldn't even fathom football. Honestly, I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, if this is basketball at a neutral site, what is SEC football? What is tailgate? Whoa. And so I think you'd watch Florida and Auburn. I think that they've already played multiple times this year. it's going to be a bloodbath.
Mhm.
These two teams are super physical, super ready to battle it out. And I think they both feel like this is the Natty.
Yeah.
I mean, the way the SEC was this year, a true gauntlet, basically the West of the NBA.
Bars.
You know, I think they really do feel like whoever comes out of this, they're tried and true.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with my heart, which is Florida. I love the way they play. But my brain tells me Auburn because of Janai Broome, where it's like Florida has nothing for that. Nothing for that. And the one thing that Florida has struggled with is when they get those twins, they're not actually twins, but when they get those two big boys in foul trouble, which they can get into.
And Condon got a little ankle injury.
Yeah, that's a different team when you get one of those guys out, even one. It's a whole different ball game. And I think if there's somebody to get them to be fouling a lot, it's going to be Janai Broome. So I'm gonna stick with Florida. How about you? Just to finalize the section.
I think I'm going Auburn versus Duke. That's the team. Those are the two teams I think are going to make it to the finals. And I think it's going to be a tough matchup, a big fight between the defense of Auburn trying to shut down that boy Cooper Flag. That's what it comes down to. Coop and the young freshman carrying that Duke team to the finals. Or is it going to be Auburn, the collective of transfers, portal guys, and Johnny
tough
Broome?
Dudes. Yeah, and tough dudes. Like them dudes.
Tough guys.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the matchup. Those are my personal choice. And, man, tune in next time to see who we think is going to win the championship.
Exactly. I'm not going to give y'all that one yet. But yeah, so as he said, we'll have more of a preview once we get to that final, and we'll break it down in full, the matchup and how that'll look on your TVs. Lastly, we have the women's Final Four. Just want to give a quick shout out to who's there. If you could just shout out real fast who's there, and then I'll just give Juju her quick good juju, and we'll get up out of here onto the MLB to close today.
All right, so we got 1 seeds, and then the usual team that's always there, the UConn women. They've basically been following Paige Bucher the whole time. She's been the girl out there going absolutely crazy. They skated through. I mean, they had to face a USC team that didn't have their number 1 player out there.
Man.
So that was pretty rough. Texas took out their rival in TCU, and what is her name? Haley Van Lith.
Yep, Van Lith.
Van Lith. Couldn't do it. Made it to another Elite Eight, but just couldn't push past those Texas Longhorns. Hook them. Then we got South Carolina, Dawn Staley, and the girls going absolutely crazy out there. They've been a juggernaut over the last few years. Dawn Staley has built an amazing program over there, so shouts out to them. They're going to be a tough out. And then some OG team, UCLA, man. UCLA coming through for the women on their side. It's going to be exciting to see. They beat LSU, another team that's been great over the last few years. Took them out 72-65 in the final Elite Eight. And now it's going to be UCLA versus UConn, 1 versus 2 seed. And then on the other side, it's South Carolina versus Texas. For me, I see UConn, South Carolina going down. Paige Bucher just playing too well for, I think, UCLA to handle. Then on the other side, I think there's just too much talent on South Carolina that Texas is not going to be able to handle. I know they've had a great run this time through, even put up 100 points in the first game of the tournament, but I think this is where it ends for them. I think there's just too much good coaching over there, too much talent for South Carolina not to get to the finals, and we'll see what happens if it comes down to UConn and South Carolina. What about you?
I'm pretty much the same way. I think that once Juju's out, the whole field changes. Yeah. And then I just think UConn, a lot of, and Notre Dame. Like Notre Dame going out was a shocker to me too. Where it was like, I think they got kicked a little early, which changed things. But yeah, when I look at I just think that UConn's a little bit slept on due to the fact that they were dealing with so many weird injuries. Fudd wasn't there the whole year, and now they're just full strength. And so it's like Sarah Strong is the number 1 recruit from last year, and she's just amazing. I mean, she's going to be the star next year. I mean, it's so clear. It's like, oh, these guys are set for a long time. This is
long time.
So yeah, I mean, I think that that is a false seeding, and I think UConn's going to take it.
Yeah. I mean,
overall.
with the number one seed in that whole group was USC.
Exactly.
And so who knows what would have happened if Juju had been out there for that game. They made it all the
Absolutely.
way to the Elite Eight.
Absolutely. And lost Juju before even making it to the Elite
even
Eight.
before that.
But that brings us to the final point of this before we move on to the MLB, which is obviously congrats to Juju Watkins.
Juju.
There
Shouts
you go.
out, baby.
There you go, girl.
Come to the Valkyrie.
Yeah, please. We'll do whatever. She obviously had a tremendous freshman year, right? Averaging 27. That's just rare to come on the scene and just be putting up 27.
Big numbers.
And then came back and really didn't disappoint. Minus this ACL injury, which was, if you watched it, really tough to watch. Looked very painful. Hopefully she bounced back very quick. But this year averaging basically 24 on 42.6% shooting from the field, 6.8 rebounds, 3.4 assists, 2.2 steals, 1.8 blocks.
I do it all.
1.9 three-pointers a game, and also shooting 33% from the three. So, at that point, you're basically, Luka Doncic.
Right.
And we would love to have you in the Bay Area. So get well soon. Keep balling out. And be on the lookout when you are eligible for the Valkyrie to be in the lottery.
Let's go.
And actively tanking. So, did I manifest that? Yes, I did.
We need it.
But you would look good in that uni. Okay. The black and purple would look proper on you. And if you ever need some, extra nudge towards a great organization, just remember the Warriors owner is running that.
And Steph Curry plays on that court too.
Oh, yeah.
So you
get to be in Chase.
A lot of good talent over there.
Yeah. So on to the MLB to close out today's show. We're going to let Mitch just kind of take this away. There's some crazy stuff going on in the first couple weeks of baseball. So handle that. Let us know.
We got some usual suspects on the top of the league right now, the Padres and the Dodgers in the NL West, as well as the San Francisco Giants, 5-1, 8-0 for the Dodgers, 7-0 for the Padres. I mean, it's looking like the NL West is the most dominant league conference in the league right now, or division in the league. So it's cool to see that. Some other teams slacking, like my A's, 2-5. They've shown their real colors after getting swept by the Cubs this last series. It was pretty rough. I think every game the Cubs scored over 10 runs, so it was pretty ugly. That's not a homecoming that you want. Sorry, Sacramento, but you guys were kind of excited about this, and we were telling you there's nothing really to be excited about. So, shouts out. Hopefully the A's can turn it around, but it's just not looking good. I mean, you guys look like a quadruple A team. It's been rough. Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker, let's step it up. Tyler Soderstrom's hitting better than you guys, so let's get it together. On a better note, we got something exciting to talk about. We have these torpedo bats.
Boy.
Man, so the New York Yankees absolutely dominated, had a home run derby against the Brewers during their series. And so we were starting to see on some of the players' bats, like Jazz Chisholm, Anthony Volpe, they were looking a little warped, a little weird in the box.
A little bit like
some
a
people
bowling
had
pin.
Some questions.
Is that a bowling pin in your hand?
So apparently these guys had torpedo bats. Not new. These things have been around to help people's knowledge. This wasn't something that just showed up just because it's the Yankees and they trying to cheat or something.
Right.
You know, other people have used these bats, but basically a torpedo bat, usually a regular bat, starts with a tiny little handle, then gets gradually bigger until it gets to the end and it has a nice even round shape throughout the whole thing. Now what they've done is they've done studies and they have analytics that show how guys hit and when they swing, where the ball is hitting their bat the majority of the time. And what they've done with these torpedo bats is usually a bat is 32 ounces, 33 inches long. And if you keep it within the right numbers, you can make the bat any kind of way you want. So what the torpedo bat has done has moved the barrel to where these guys hit the ball, usually on the bat, and basically kind of made it so that they're getting rewarded for bad swings at the end of the day. And you saw it apparent with Anthony Volpe hitting home runs during the series, Jazz Chisholm hitting 3 in 2 games in that series. Not somebody like Aaron Judge who had 3 home runs in one game. He has decided, hey, if it ain't broke,
I don't need it.
Don't fix it.
Right.
I hit 60 home runs. I can do it all right. This bat seems fine. But at the end of the day, it's more controversy because it was the Yankees at the end of the day. People saw the Yankees go crazy. Hey, these guys are cheating. What's up with their bats?
Mm-hmm.
People haven't been noticing it for a while because it's been on players that people haven't been paying attention to.
Right.
But lo and behold, this has been happening for a while. It's not something crazy, but the MLB is not having it, not letting them use it moving forward. So it was short-lived, you guys. You guys kind of blew up the spot, essentially.
Right.
That's what happened. People were using it. Now they got to take it away because the Yankees are getting accused of cheating. Can't have that in the MLB.
Right.
That's the number 1 team in the whole league. You know?
Yeah, and they're trying to work
marketability.
Right.
Them and the Dodgers,
right.
Those are the marquee guys. So we can't be having scandals right now, especially with Aaron Judge and the way he's been hitting. So that's just a little bit of history on what's been going on, a little bit of showcasing on the interesting story that's away just from the ball playing. But as we move forward, we got guys who have been killing it. Like I mentioned before, we had our man Aaron Judge, 3 home runs in 1 game. He has 5 this season, 15 RBIs, batting .417. He's an absolute beast. Kyle Tucker, same face, new place. He's playing for the Cubs. He's really come on strong. 4 home runs and 11 RBIs, batting .324.
Mm-hmm.
With for a strong Cubs team, when you play the A's, you're going to pad your stats. That seems to be what happened for my man Kyle Tucker. And another guy, Jazz Chisholm, as we just talked about, 4 home runs, batting .292, adding a lot of more pop for that New York Yankees team. A lot of excitement over there. He was getting highlighted for his one-piece cleats. They were talking about it the whole time. So the man's bringing some swag to the game, bringing some excitement, letting the kids have fun out there. For some new guys who may be on your waiver wire as we move on to fantasy, we got some guys who may be still available that have been absolutely killing it to start this season. The St. Louis Cardinals have some guys. Lars Nootbaar, somebody who even last year had a lot of hype behind him. He showed out so far early in the season. He's batting .417, has 2 home runs. So he's somebody to keep your eye on if he's on your waiver wire. And you got somebody like Dylan Cruz, who may be 0 for 18 with about 10 strikeouts. Maybe I know he's somebody who's had a lot of hype coming into the season, but maybe you're willing to make that chance, take that chance of, hey, get him out of here. He's not ready. Let's bring in somebody who maybe last year didn't bring it. This year he's showing that he can make the adjustments to the league, whereas Dylan Cruz is still very young, very few at-bats into the league, may need to go back to AAA to get some ABs. Next for the Cardinals, we got Victor Scott II. Mm-hmm. He's somebody who is fighting for an opening day roster spot, makes it because he was absolutely dominating in the preseason, all spring training. He was hitting home runs, stealing bases, and he's carried that over into the regular season. He's had a home run, 5 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, batting .348. So somebody else in the outfield for as many lackluster performances as there's been this season so far in these first couple series. These are a couple guys who have really showed out, and hopefully they can keep it up at a high clip this whole season. So those are some good outfield options for you, as well as a first base option from your San Francisco Giants, Wilmer Flores. He's somebody who maybe got overlooked in the draft. He is at first base, so there was other good options. But even if you draft somebody like Matt Olson right now, he's about 2 for 18, 2 for 20. So even Wilmer Flores is batting .227, but has 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, contributing in different categories away from batting average, but still padding the stats. So those are a few guys to look out for that could be on your waiver wire. Even pitchers like Jackson Jobe, young guy that we were talking about before, could still be on your waiver wire as well. He's somebody who you should look out for. And then there's another guy, Mackenzie Gore, from Washington, the Nationals. Had a very, very solid first game. Didn't really have another back-to-back one in the second start, but he's somebody exciting who can rack it up in terms of strikeouts for you and have potentially a low ERA this season if he can repeat his first performance of the season. So if you're looking for guys to pick up off the waiver wires, those are some good options. But like we said before, there's obvious guys that if you drafted the Aaron Judges of the world, you're balling. But if you're unlucky enough to draft the Jose Ramirez's or the Rafael Devers of the league, who 0 for 18 with like 15 strikeout, that was a tough start to the season for my man Rafael.
Yikes.
But he's somebody who can definitely bounce back. Again, it's only about 6 or 7 games. A lot of talk for a little bit of stats. There's plenty of season left. There's going to be a lot to talk about, and we'll keep it up out throughout the season, fantasy and just statistic-wise. We're just going to keep track of them and the prospects that are going to be coming up. So that's our MLB roundup. I'm kind of wondering, were we going to get a little bit of soccer in there?
Yeah, definitely. I'll give a quick shout-out before we get out of there. And real quick, I do want to say in regards to baseball, the Reds' first team since 1960 to lose 3 straight by 1-0. That is disgusting. Guys, get yourself on the board, please.
Yes.
Like that is. Imagine
you guys have way too many
going
prospects.
to those games. 3 in a row, 1-0. Oh my gosh. And then also, I just want to say, rip. What's the Brent Gardner's kid?
Oh yeah,
ended up being carbon monoxide. This is a great Yankees legend.
Yeah.
Was also just a good all-around ball player, good all-around guy. Super sad to see. Kid was 14.
Yeah.
Just awful. So RIP to that young man. Had to give
best wishes to the Gardner family.
Absolutely. And before I give you soccer, I do also have to say, John Morant giving us the gun gesture. I forgot to go over this.
Pew, 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 pew.
Hey, buddy.
Put him.
Hey, buddy.
Holster up, buddy.
You think you Bobby Schmurder or something? With a
ba 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 ba.
da, 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 da. Like, we don't have to go into what you've been warned for, but I saw it immediately, and I was instantly like, "Oh, this is gonna linger.
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna linger, and it will for you." Like, I will. I've already gone into an investigation, already launched one. Who knows what it'll end up being? You didn't get super punished in the moment, but like, can we? I know you're 25, so your brain, I think, is just settling in or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like, can we just do better? And I'm just gonna leave it at that before I go to soccer. But like, say something, fam. You know what's going on.
Come on, Joski.
Really? That's what we're here doing now. Okay,
Pops, help your boy out.
get it together. So lastly, soccer. We got Champions League coming up this week. So we've given you some highlights previously about the entire matchups. So I won't, go over all the entire matchups we have, and I will just go over the next time once we have these results. But I do want to make sure you guys are aware that, it's Champions League week, because it's not every time. They do take little breaks in between to have league weeks. So this is actually Champions League week. The games that I'm going to highlight for you, Real Madrid Arsenal, that is going to be wild. Whew. That is going to be wild. First legs are also notoriously crazy. They're like crash out legs. Because everybody's just trying to see how the dust is going to settle. They're going all out. And then, with me being biased, I'm going to say, go ahead and check out Barcelona versus Borussia Dortmund. Going to be a lot of offense. Going to be up and down. Always between these two teams, there's a lot of, like, with him talking about top prospects, you want to talk about teams that are filled with the world's gems. Yeah. These are two teams that always got a team that you need to pay extra attention to in terms of who he's going to be later. So those are going to be my two to highlight. And then I will throw in Bayern Munich Inter, just because, at the end of the day, that matchup is phenomenal. And no shade to PSG Aston Villa, which I've now highlighted all the matchups.
Portugal Saint Germain, you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah, for real. But no shade to those guys. I've now highlighted all of them, but that should give you a little idea. And if I were to truly say matchup as a neutral, I would order it Real Madrid Arsenal, Bayern Munich Inter, Barcelona Borussia Dortmund, PSG versus Aston Villa. So that's the word. That's what's good. We'll keep you fully up to date once these scores get settled. And I will have a preview of the second leg and predictions once that is available. And then, as we said before, now that MLB is here, make sure you're here weekly, because I'm sure you're playing fantasy baseball. I'm sure you're trying to keep up with your local team. And if you're from here, we got you covered on everything going on with these teams. So make sure you're here. My team did well last time with fantasy, being up to date, staying up to date with my guy. 3 out of 4 of my teams finished first place. So, don't hesitate to get that fix up if you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Come on to the Say Something fam, especially with MLB season here. Like we said, we got the real and the fantasy covered.
Yes, sir.
So we will see y'all next week. Let's hope the Warriors can cut it out. Can you give us a quick update on where we're at before we say
All
What's the
right,
score?
right now we are in the fourth quarter, and we got 103-92 Warriors with 6 minutes 50 seconds left. So go tune in right now, check it out. It's gonna be a good finish.
We'll see y'all next week.